Good day, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone out there is doing well. Welcome to another fun and, as always, exciting episode of the Brew City Lounge. I am your host, Brandon. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. As always, super excited to have you guys tuning in. If you are on the live stream, happy Friday to you all. If you are listening on your smart device, wherever you may be, good day to you. And thank you so much for giving the show a listen. It is an absolute honor and privilege, as it always is, to talk about our favorite teams. Lots and lots to talk about and break down. It's always the good, the bad, and the ugly with sports, and some exciting announcements for the show. We're going to dive all into it. Who is the Bucks' biggest threat in the Eastern Conference? The Milwaukee Brewers. Do they have an offense anymore? Be on the lookout for them. Impact of Giannis on and off the court. Happy to announce that the Milwaukee Brewers are going to 100% capacity starting June 25th. As always, real cool, fun, exciting announcement. As you guys already know, the Brew City Lounge has partnered up with the folks over at Fanatics. Jump on our Twitter or Facebook page. The link is posted at the top of the page. Click on it, shop for the latest apparel, get your best team's gear. It's they got crazy sales right now. It's awesome. But further ado, let me introduce you guys. Joining me now, brought to you by the good folks over at One Call Technology. Give them a call at 888-585-8850 for all your business telecom needs. Zach Gelb of CBS Sports Radio and host of the Zach Gelb Show. Follow him on Twitter at Zach Gelb and listen to him each and every day from 6 to 10 p.m. on CBS Sports Radio. Also catch up to any shows that you may have missed using the Odyssey app, formerly known as the radio.com app. I'm a big fan of this guy. Zach, good afternoon, man. How you doing out there?
Brandon, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me in the Brew City Lounge. And I love Fanatics, by the way. Just bought a bunch of stuff a few weeks ago. So Michael Rubin, I'm sure he's very happy.
We appreciate that little shout out, man. I know you got a busy schedule. I do greatly appreciate it. You jumping on and talking some Bucks, and apparently there's some Packers stuff that's going on. We'll figure we'll figure that all out real quick. But as a fan of yours, Zach, as a Milwaukee Bucks fan, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you come into when this COVID stuff is done, and I think we're getting close to it, you come down in the city of Milwaukee, and I know you got big fans out on the 1250 AM The Fan out there in Milwaukee. We're ready to buy you beer, man, because you were one of the only national voices, obviously local. We all want Giannis. You were one of the national voices, going out every single day, whether you were tweeting it out or talking about it on your show, on the Zach Gelb Show. Giannis needs to stay in Milwaukee, man. You have gained such a following in Milwaukee. That's why I wanted you on the show for many reasons, but that was one of the biggest reasons, is you were, clamoring for a guy like Giannis, a superstar of his stature, to stay in the city of Milwaukee. Were you surprised that he signed the Supermax? Were you expecting it? What were some of your reactions in December, going back a few months?
Yeah, even though I was leading the charge on Keep the Greek Freak and sign the Supermax, and I was going after with Leroy Butler, who's a Lakers fan. Well, let's be real. Leroy Butler is a Packers legend, should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's also a Lakers fan, and we were having some fun. So I was annoyed as the national name that I was on Leroy's show, and I cared more about keeping Giannis in Milwaukee than he did. So it really did take on a life of its own. I was never concerned up until you got into that week period where he was back and nothing really, we weren't really hearing anything. And I'm saying, well, what is he waiting for? So I was a little skeptical for about a week. But other than that, I thought he was going to stay. I think it's the right decision. And now the question is, how long is he actually going to want to stay? Because we all know this, you could sign a contract and then be out very shortly. I don't think he is close to ever leaving, but I do believe there is some serious intrigue this year with the playoff run. And I think they have a great opportunity. Personally, I think, and I know some people may not like this, and you say that people will buy me beer now. Some people will throw some beer at me. I still do believe that the Nets are the preeminent team in the Eastern Conference. But I have been saying this for now about a month and a half. The Bucks, to me, are the second best team in the Eastern Conference. And then it's Philly 3, regardless of what the standings do currently say.
And I think, even as a Bucks fan, I would probably agree with you. I said it last week Tuesday on my show. I said, if this is the team, that we have currently structured, with Giannis signed in the Supermax. Drew Holiday also signed a 4-year deal. Chris Middleton obviously signed his 5-year deal last year. And then you have Brook Lopez, who signed last year as well. So he's locked, the core of the team is locked up. As the team is constructed, I agree with you. I think Brooklyn, obviously, they have, the heavier hitters, multiple MVPs on that team, multiple championships with Kyrie and KD. And then now James Harden is coming back healthy. If you were to pick a team outside of, maybe Brooklyn and probably just Brooklyn in the East, do the Milwaukee Bucks hold a chance against any other team outside of Brooklyn? Is that a team, like going up against Philly? I still think the Knicks are a tough matchup as well.
I live in New York, and I love the coaching job of Tom Thibodeau, and I love what Leon Rose is doing. But the Knicks are not going to be a threat to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Knicks are not going to be a threat to the Philadelphia 76ers. And really for the Knicks, everything else from here is just gravy. And you could say the same thing about the Atlanta Hawks. I wonder if people are, I don't want to say intimidated of Miami, but Miami did go on that run last year, and they're starting to get hot at the right time. There's only 3 teams, though, in my opinion, in the East that can get to the finals. It's the Nets, it's the Bucks, and it's the Sixers. And if it's not the Nets, I'm going to roll with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, that doesn't mean that the Bucks can't beat the Nets. I'm not going to say that it's just a shoo-in for Brooklyn to get to the NBA Finals. But when you look at it, and I think a lot of people would say the Bucks' best chance to get to the finals was last year. I actually think their best chance to win the finals, though, is this year because they've had 2 years of experience. Let's be real. Nothing that they did in the regular season this year could be viewed in a positive light. So I don't care if they're going to be the 3 seed or the 2 seed. This is about exercising the demons of the last 2 years where they showed so much in being the best team from a record standpoint in the entire NBA, but then coming up short after blowing that lead to the Raptors in the conference finals last year, not being able to get out of the second round. Now you have 2 years of experience, and I think it's okay to be flying under the radar a little bit. I just want to know if it comes down to the final 2 minutes, which it usually feels like it does with each and every playoff game, NBA game, is Giannis going to be able to close? And if not, will Middleton be able to close? Because that's probably the next option that they're going to go to. I like what they did this year. They made some changes. Drew Holiday, bringing in Tucker as well at the deadline. So I like where the Bucks are positioned. But I do think, and hey, they got Giannis to stay, which is the important part. And there is pressure on Giannis to get to the finals this year. I really do think, though, the most pressure is on Mike Budenholzer, and he is in danger of losing his job if they have another early exit.
And that's a great segment because I was going to ask you that question. You look at this Milwaukee Bucks team, and a lot of Bucks fans, including myself and a lot of people that work around the NBA and cover the sport, probably 2018, 2019, when you lose that 2-game lead against the Toronto Raptors, you're probably looking at that being your best chance lately at winning an NBA title. Obviously, Toronto goes on to win that title. Kevin Durant, unfortunately, tears his Achilles, and Toronto eventually goes on to win it. I kind of look at last year as just I'm not again, I say it every time I talk about the basketball. I'm not taking anything away from the Los Angeles Lakers or LeBron James or their fan base. I just feel like when you play 95% of the season and then you stop for 5 months and then start up a bubble, I don't necessarily think that you can really hold that against Giannis or Mike Budenholzer. I obviously don't want to see a second round exit, but that Miami Heat team matches up well against the Bucks, and they were built for the bubble. I mean, it was kind of a weird year. But I was going to ask you the question with Mike Budenholzer: what's it going to take for him to retain his job? Now, there was a couple reports. Shams came out in The Athletic and said if there's not a deep playoff run, that Mike Budenholzer could be on his way out. But nobody knows what a defining phrase of deep run. I mean, in your opinion, what do the Bucks and Mike Budenholzer have to do in the playoffs for him to keep his job?
I would say they have to have a legit showing in the conference finals. Like if you remember a few years ago when Brett Brown was in Philly and they lost on that crazy fortuitous shot by Kawhi Leonard. If you lose in the conference finals on that, and I know that game wasn't in the conference finals, are you really going to fire the coach over just a crazy shot? No. So they have to get to the conference finals, in my opinion, and have a good showing. They'll win their first round series. They'll probably get Brooklyn in the second round. And it may actually, he could keep his job if they have a hard like fought competitive 7-game series where it's just a crazy ending. But I would think bare minimum, you do have to get to the conference finals, and it just may depend how it does look up against Brooklyn. I'll tell you this. I know Peter Feigin. I know John Horst. They love Mike Budenholzer, so it's tough to fire someone that you love. I don't know necessarily how they'll interpret their expectations, but for me, if I'm a Bucks fan, I would be disappointed if you don't get to a conference finals at the bare minimum. And quite frankly, why not get to the NBA finals this year? Because Philadelphia, I have concerns about them. I like them as a team, but I think that their story really this year was the regular season. And now I look what's going to happen in the postseason. I just wonder, just like the Bucks, who's going to be taking that shot at the end of the game. And it's probably going to be Tobias Harris, I would say. And he's had a good year. I don't think Philly's going to the finals. I really do believe it's going to be either the Nets or the Bucks. So in a long answer on this, there is pressure on Mike Budenholzer. Like, there's no pressure on Doc Rivers. If he doesn't do well in the playoffs this year, it is what it is. They had a really successful year one with him and Daryl Morey. The Nets, if they don't make it to the finals, it's not going to be Steve Nash that gets fired because he's not really the coach. It's Kevin Durant, it's James Harden, it's Kyrie Irving. Yep. So coaching-wise, the most pressure is on Bud. And you look at the whole landscape of the NBA, this year you could make a case. Maybe it's not Brooklyn because they're only going to play 7-8 games together with that trio before getting to the playoffs. We talked about Philadelphia. And then the other side, LeBron's hurt right now. Anthony Davis is hurt right now. Donovan Mitchell still not back for the Jazz. I do like the Suns. Jamal Murray just went down for the Nuggets. So for the first time in a long time, you have both conferences open, and you can give me a prediction all you want. We truly don't know who's going to the NBA Finals this year.
It's for the longest time, I think, in the NBA, for a while we had the Warriors and then obviously the Lakers recently. I feel like in both conferences, 1 through 6, really. I mean, you could argue maybe 1 through 8 in the West, but all these teams are fairly good. Like, really, they're spread out evenly. I think, between the West and the East, and it's going to be exciting, especially with the play-in tournament. What's your quick thoughts on that play-in tournament? I know LeBron's against it, but I wanted, it's the first year that they're doing it. So, without the bubble, I'm trying to figure out what are your thoughts on it. It's going to be interesting because the guys and the teams in the 1 and 2 seed are going to sit for extra 3 or 4 days, almost a week.
Well, here's the thing. LeBron James only is now starting to not like it because he could be in the playing game. Notice how LeBron James did not say a single word about the playing game in a negative light until he was like, oh, crap, I actually may be playing in this thing. The Eastern Conference, I don't give any care in the world for the play-in tournament. I don't. The teams just aren't good enough to me. I know Boston is going to be in it, but Boston stinks this year. They were underachieving, and that's a basketball team that we'll see what changes they make. But in the West, they're saving grace, and we don't know who's going to be 7 yet. I would say that their saving grace would be to either have Steph go up against LeBron or Steph go up against Damian Lillard. Either way, depending on who gets that 7th seed, then that's going to be something that could be of interest. So more so the West, the playing game is more intriguing. In the East, not so much. My thoughts, though, on the playing games, I don't like it. I know why it's being done because of tanking and load management and all that stuff. But you play 72 games. I don't need to put a big fuss up for 10 teams. If you can't be in the top 8 at the end of 72 or in traditional years 82, then I really have not a lot of interest on it in most years. But in this case, there are some good matchups in the Western Conference, the East, not so much.
And I completely agree with you. It's funny that, all of a sudden now it's an issue with LeBron James, but we know how that works. It
was the same thing with the Mavericks, right? We didn't hear anything about it until the Mavericks were like, we may be in this playing game.
and I don't go on my show and bash any player. I respect LeBron James, what he does on and off the court. I'm just not a fan of his. But speaking of matchups, and this may sound crazy, again, Zach, I'm Homer. Like, when I come on my show, I love my teams, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Nor should you be.
I want the Brooklyn Nets. I really do, and I'll tell you why. There's a couple reasons why. Number one, who on that team is going to guard Giannis, and who's going to stop Giannis on that team? I mean, if you're going to tell me DeAndre Jordan, not even Kevin Durant. I mean, I think that's a matchup nightmare, and it's shown in the 3 matchups that the Bucks have played against the Nets this year. They won 2 out of 3. They averaged 118 points per those 3 games. There's not many they don't have the wall, so to speak, to to defend Giannis that people that teams have been doing lately. They don't play defense. I mean, that's plain and simple. They're 24th ranked defense in the National Basketball Association. The Bucks aren't any really better as far as offensively. The Nets are going to get theirs. I mean, you can't stop KD, Kyrie, and Harden every single night. They're going to get theirs. As a matchup standpoint, I think the Bucks match up really good with Brooklyn. I really do. I think that matchup favors the Milwaukee Bucks because of, again, there's going to be a lot of factors. The guys Milwaukee's got to hit their shots. I mean, that's been the Achilles heel going back to the Toronto series in 2019. But as far as a matchup goes, I really do like the Bucks versus the Nets, and I like the Bucks to come out of that. And again, that may be, I might be Homer in that, but I just think matchup wise, they've shown, and in the game that they lost against Brooklyn, it went to overtime.
Here's the problem. We don't really know how anyone matches up with
That's
the Brooklyn
true, too,
Nets.
yeah.
Their three guys have only played 7 games together, and I know Kyrie has that facial laceration. I did see that Steve Nash said the other day that they should get another game in with the three of them before the season does end. I think that game's actually coming up tomorrow. So, who knows? Because, I also thought LeBron James was going to be back for 2 games this week, and that wasn't the case. We don't know how they're going to match up. As long as Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving are healthy, it's going to be tough to beat them. And here's what I'll say about the defense with Brooklyn, because you're not wrong. Brooklyn does not play defense in the regular season, but in the postseason, you see people take it to a different level. We know Kevin Durant's capable of playing defense. Same can be said with James Harden. Had a nice block last year in a series that should have never gone to 7 games, and everyone was praising James Harden. Oh, he had his big playoff moment. The guy was terrible offensively. He bailed himself out with a block at the end of the game. I think it's a fun series. That is, at a bare minimum, a 6-game series. I would expect it to go 7 between the Nets and the Bucks, and you could flip a coin. Personally, right now, I would lean towards the Brooklyn Nets, but hey, who knows? I make a lot of wrong predictions, so maybe that will just be another one that you put in the file cabinet of just wrong predictions of Zach Gelb.
Well, I think I absolutely respect that, because when you on paper, you're right. Like this, when you look at it and you go to a casual fan or an unbiased fan, you look at it and you're like, dude, the Nets are going to roll. Like there's nothing that Milwaukee could do to stop, 3 of the best, in my opinion, best scorers in the NBA currently, maybe historically as well. What are your thoughts on this Bucks team versus years past? Now, what I mean by years past, I mean like the last few years.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Eric Bledsoe. And you take Eric Bledsoe out, I've been like the number 1 fan on the Jrue Holiday bandwagon. I've been, I love
Jrue Holiday.
I love the guy. I obviously what he does off the court speaks volumes. What he does on the court with defense and his offense efficiency, I think, is obviously way better than Bledsoe. Looking at this team now, prior to the last few years, is this team better in your opinion? Now, the 2018-2019 obviously reached the Eastern Conference Finals, went to 6 games. Bucks had a 2-game lead. Obviously, they lost. And then obviously last year they lost again in the bubble, as we talked about earlier in the second round. In your opinion, and maybe some people that you talk to, is this Bucks team better, even though they may not have the bench that they had previously, as deep as they've been? Is this team better, you think, going forward than it has in the past?
I think so, and here's why. This is a team where I'm not saying they weren't motivated the last 2 years, but they were having so much success in getting praised. This year, they have not been getting praised really for anything, not that people are calling them a bad team, because it's one of those stories like what happened with Toronto a few years ago. Other teams as well, like the Clippers this year. Oh, well, we already see what you could do in the regular season. Now it's time to cash that check in the postseason. The last 2 years, they peaked in the regular season. This year, they have not peaked in the regular season yet. And I think motivation, not that they weren't motivated the last 2 years, but it's a little bit different when you've been right up here and then you get taken down in the playoffs and then you go into the postseason. You're not down low, but you're like right here, you're in the top 3. People are saying, Philadelphia. People are talking about the Nets. A lot of people aren't talking about Milwaukee. Yeah, they're in the top 3. Yeah, they have the top 3 odds to get to the finals in the Eastern Conference. But I don't hear many people saying the Milwaukee Bucks are going to the NBA Finals. That's what I think is going to be so compelling here, how much they play that off internally. And I do think that this is a team that they're just more seasoned than in years past. Not that to talk negatively about any of the players in the past, but I just like what they did this year, bringing in Jrue Holiday, bringing in Tucker. And then you also have Giannis, who we know he's a back-to-back MVP, but probably a little extra hungry this year. Mm-hmm. And Chris Middleton's going to be a huge key, as he is almost every year in the postseason. And everything you hear from him is that he, is someone, I don't want to call him a silent assassin, but he doesn't have he's not a guy that has a big personality, at least from afar. And I think internally he'll use some of the things that's been said about in the last 2 years and take it to a different level in the postseason. They have all the pieces to get to the finals and win the finals this year. Now we just got to see if they could do it.
Talking with Zach Gelb of CBS Sports Radio, also host of the Zach Gelb Show. Guys, follow him on Twitter at Zach Gelb. I can't let you go unless I ask the question, and it has to be asked, unfortunately. People in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin are losing their minds. Aaron Rodgers, where is he playing football next year?
So 2 weeks ago, I was at 3 weeks ago, I was at 55%. Then 2 weeks ago, when John Kuhn came on our show and admitted that he talked to Aaron Rodgers.
Great show, by the way. You got national.
Appreciate it.
Woo! It was awesome.
So when Kuhn came on and he said, I talked to Rodgers and I wouldn't rule out a return, he was like, absolutely not, absolutely not, absolutely not. And he put the number at 70 to 75%. I moved up to about 64% in honor of Jerry Kramer, who I love. He's a great human being, tremendous man, tremendous guest. This week, I re-put that number out there, now a different number, but I was asked that same question, and I said about 72%. I feel good that I don't feel great, but I feel good that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. Here's what's happening, in my opinion. Aaron Rodgers is either trying to embarrass Brian Gutekunst and basically have him genuflect, or he really wants the heck out of Green Bay. I think it's more so on the personal revenge against Brian Gutekunst. Remember, they already offered him a contract in recent months that obviously he didn't take and he turned down, that would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the league, average annual value on the salary. I believe he didn't take it then because he wanted to see what would happen this offseason. Now Gutekunst has to go back, offer him the same deal, probably fly back out to Aaron Rodgers' home and go, Aaron, we love you. We want you back. I messed up, blah, 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 blah. I ultimately think Aaron Rodgers gets the new contract, stays with the Packers, and I would have never thought that a year ago when they drafted him. But a lot of people underestimated here Aaron Rodgers' control in this situation. And during the regular season, he did a nice job fooling us and making us think, oh, well, we knew he was mad, but it looks like he's going to be okay with the Packers coming to him and saying, all right, Jordan Love's ready in a year or two from now, and now we're going to move on from you. Nope, Aaron Rodgers strategically played it the right way this year, and then in the offseason made his thoughts known. And if I'm Brian Gutekunst, this is the question I got to ask myself. If I get rid of Aaron Rodgers, who's my starting quarterback? And for this upcoming season, and if the answer is not Jordan Love, that is a sign that you cannot trade Aaron Rodgers, and you got to admit and learn when to take your L. And the other part of this, too, is the whole Davante Adams factor and what he said to Colin Cowherd. Like, if Davante Adams, he didn't say it directly, but he basically said it. If Rodgers isn't here, I'm not re-signing unless if you give me the bag. So to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, you're going to go to maybe a Teddy Bridgewater or a Drew Lock, not Jordan Love, in the first year where Rodgers is gone. And you may also run out of town the following year, Davante Adams. Brian Gutekunst, don't be an idiot and make sure that you keep Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and show him the money.
And I think that's, going forward with Aaron Rodgers, and you get Packer fans it's kind of like a 50-50 right now, to be honest with you, which is crazy in my opinion, because as a thrower of the football now, everybody.
Well, not to interrupt you, I am shocked, by the way, because I thought 2-3 weeks ago, Packers fans, oh yeah, we want Rodgers, screw management, and that's what I thought the tone was. I can't tell you how many calls I got from people, oh, he's a whiner, get him out of town, he doesn't want to be here. Packers fans, I love you, but you're getting spoiled if that's the case. You had Brett Favre, then Aaron Rodgers. Most likely the next guy is not going to win a Super Bowl, and he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Be careful for what you wish for if you want Rodgers out, because you may be terrible for the foreseeable future, and then you're going to be going back, oh, we're idiots. We let Aaron Rodgers get out of town. I would not run him out of town. The guy's 37, about to turn 38, and he just won an MVP. All right? Keep him there.
and I get a lot of flack for this. A couple weeks ago, it got pretty heated on the show. I had said, Tom Brady's the most decorated quarterback. You're not going to be able to take away 7 Super Bowls. Maybe he wins more down the road, whatever. He's got everything. From a pure thrower of the football, pure put on the tape, watch a quarterback play, take the unbiased opinion out of it. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback from a talent perspective to ever play the game. You're not going to see that ever again, no matter how good Jordan Love is, no matter how good Joe Schmo is 25 years from now. You're never going to find somebody like Aaron Rodgers, and you cannot, under any circumstance, ever, in the history of ever, let that go. Because no offense to Jordan Love, and again, I hope, I feel bad for him because he didn't ask for this. He was drafted into that position. It's not like they could pick where they can go.
And Rodgers showed sympathy to that. He called him eventually because he understands what it's like to be in that situation.
And he lived it for a few years. So
yeah.
But yeah, to your point, and you go on Twitter. I call Twitter and Facebook the dark web.
I call it the cesspool. That's what it is.
It's exactly what it is. And you got this guy, people on there saying, "Oh, let him go. We'll get, Jordan Love will be just fine." I was born into the Brett Favre era. Brett Favre made me fall in love with football, and obviously Aaron Rodgers, perfected it. But I agree with you. You're not going to ever find another quarterback, another player as talented as Aaron Rodgers, and the amount of fans. And you can even go to some media, Zach. Not naming any names, but some people in the local media are okay with thinking that letting Aaron Rodgers go is okay. It's mind-boggling, and I hope. Matt LaFleur spoke today. I'm not sure if you were able to catch any. Yeah, so he spoke today and left a few. Still no news. I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, maybe you could go either way with it. I'm leaning towards he'll be in camp. I'm leaning towards he'll be at mandatory workouts starting June 14th, I believe it is.
Well, that's the big question, because right now I don't expect anything unless if it is, hey, we extended him and boom, we're good to go. You start to look at June 1st because you know what happens with the salary cap post June 1 and all that with the trade. It's a bunch of talk that we don't need to get into because, quite frankly, it's boring. But from June 1 to June 15th, that's when I'm going to be sitting there with binoculars and really seeing what's going to go down here. Because if he's not signed by that training camp, 14th, 15th, whatever it is, then the question is he going to show up? And that I truly don't know.
I do not want to experience. I've been spoiled. You're right. Like, I grew up with Brett Favre and I came in with Aaron Rodgers. I'm absolutely 100% spoiled.
You got a month to figure this out. If you can't figure this out in a month, then you got to trade him. And I don't want them to trade him, but you have a month to figure this out. And
it's definitely going to be interesting. If anything does happen down the line, obviously we'll be here to talk about it. Hopefully I can get you back on the show. I know you got to get running. You got a big show coming up. Check him out on Twitter at Zach Gelb. Check him out every weekday, 6 to 10 p.m., Monday through Friday on CBS Sports Radio. The Zach Gelb Show, obviously that is his show, and he does a phenomenal job at it. Zach, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me about the Bucks and Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully good things in Milwaukee. And I promise you, man, you come to Milwaukee, a lot of people are going to be lined up to buy you beers. That stuff doesn't go unnoticed with us. I promise you that.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's been fun coming on today, Brandon. Anytime you want me, you know how to get at me on Twitter, and a lot of spotted cow coming my way when I make the trip to Milwaukee.
Absolutely, absolutely. Zach Gelb, thank you very much. Good luck with your show today, and have a good day, sir.
You got it, guys. Be well.
Take care. He is Zach Gelb. He drops off. That was total awesomeness. Absolutely a blast. Excited to get kind of a national media's perspective on the Milwaukee Bucks. We get a lot of local guys, and obviously all these local guys want the Milwaukee Brewers to win a title and think that they're going to win a title, and the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win. So it was fun to get his perspective as far as national media on where these Milwaukee Bucks and these Milwaukee Brewers go. Bucks win big last night. Guess big. Beat the Indiana Pacers 142-133. Not sure how you allow the Indiana Pacers to score 133 points, but Giannis with a big game, 40 points, 15 rebounds. But as you heard Zach, he's thinking comes down to between Brooklyn and the Milwaukee Bucks for the Eastern Conference Finals, and I tend to agree with him. Although if you guys are listening, I did say that I think defensively the Bucks match up better against against Brooklyn than they do against any other team in the Eastern Conference. But transitioning from the Milwaukee Bucks, some Aaron Rodgers talk. Unfortunately, we got to talk about our other favorite team, our other struggling team in the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know where to begin with these guys. I so stressed out watching them play each and every game. They drop a series to the Cardinals 2-1. And if you peel the onion back and you look at it a little bit and kind of dive into how that series went. Now, game one was about, I'm going to be honest with you. I probably have never been like really upset with a regular season Brewers loss in a while. That game one against the St. Louis Cardinals, it ruined my night. I'm going to be God honest with you. It absolutely ruined my night. I was so infuriated how they lost that game. I mean, you get almost 7 innings pitched by Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, and Corbin Burns pitched 19 2/3 innings in this series, and they allowed 2 earned runs. The Brewers were 2 for 31 with runners in scoring position. How is that possible? Now, you got a lot of people on Twitter yelling for Andy Haynes' job. And we're going to get into that because I really don't believe that Andy Haynes is the person to blame here. Now, I was on a podcast last night, and there's a few things that you can go about this Milwaukee Brewers offense. And I don't think that you would be wrong in anywhere that you would want to put the blame. You want to put the blame on Andy Haynes? Okay. You can make a case for that. You want to put the blame on Craig Counsell? Okay. You could probably make a case for that. If you want to put the blame on the players, is where you and I, if you feel that way, would agree, because that's where I am. Now, we can sit here and talk about, Andy Haynes isn't doing this. Craig Counsell isn't doing this. You guys, bear with me here for a minute, okay? These are professional Major League Baseball players, okay? They are paid handsomely to play a game, and credit to them, they have gotten to the highest level that you can play. You got 2 of your important pieces that are not on the team currently, both in Christian Yelich and Keston Hiura, both down in AAA Nashville. Hiura actually had a good game last night. He had 2 doubles. Yelich is in the lineup today. Speaking of, if you haven't checked out that the Nashville Sounds roster today, it could probably win a few games in the National League for you right now. But getting back to it, you got these guys that are out. Christian Yelich, obviously the 2018 MVP. We all know who he is. He's one of the best players in the National League as far as offense and defense. And Hiura was in the major leagues because of his offense. He was a guy that came up into the minor league very fast. And he won titles in almost every level in the minor leagues, and that's why he is in the major leagues right now, not because of his defense. If you ever watched Keston Hiura play second base, you know that he is not in the major leagues because of his defense. But you take those 2 guys out, this roster still is pretty good. And I talked to Matt Pauley, 6:20 a.m. Post-game host, prior to the season, and we gave a list out of what we think the strengths are, what we think the weaknesses of this team would be, and what we think is a question mark. And actually, Matt Pauley and I agreed on everything. I said the back of the end of the bullpen and the middle relievers are going to be pretty good. And then I said I'm pretty confident in the offense. I think the offense looks really good. You add Colton Wong into AmFam Field. You got depth all the way down the roster. I thought that as a team, the depth-wise of the team, they were pretty good offensively. And obviously you add Jackie Bradley Jr., and defensively you got better. So overall, I thought that they would be pretty good. My question mark was going into the season was how good the pitching could be, because we didn't know. Corbin Burns, we've seen him come out of the bullpen, and we've seen him do really good. Last year, he had a really good season. Again, it was only 60 games, so we weren't really 100% sure how he was going to respond going into a full season. All of this got mixed up because the bullpen is really good, as we've kind of assumed it would be. And then you thought the offense would be pretty good. 1 through 8, I mean, you're really good. If Omar Narvaez is like your 7th hitter, maybe Luis Urias is your 8th hitter, I mean, that's darn good. That's really good. So going into it, again, I said that the offense would be good and the defense, the pitching would be a question mark. Obviously, going into it now, we can see that the offense has been struggling. They are hitting sub 200 with runners in scoring position. And I understand, like, baseball loves home runs and they love, triples, but hitting for power. I mean, at some point, though, guys have got to at least make contact with the baseball. I mean, you're seeing the Milwaukee Brewers lead off with a double in the inning and sit there on second base while there's consecutive strikeouts by the offense. It's stressful. It's stressful and it's frustrating. The Milwaukee Brewers were 0 for 10. Let that sink in. 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position yesterday. You could easily have said that this team should have probably won the series pretty good, pretty handily. I mean, if we're being honest, that game one goes into extra innings. You're in the bottom of the 10th, and you have a guy on first and third with one out. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and call for Andy Haynes' job. I'm not going to sit here and call for Craig Counsell's job. I think Craig Counsell is the best manager in the National League. But at some point, something along the lines has to be done. But what is that exactly? If you're listening to the show on the live stream, drop a comment, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Brew City Pod. I want to get your guys' thoughts. What's your solution? What do you think needs to happen for this Milwaukee Brewers offense? Because it's atrocious. You have some of the most dominant pitchers. Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, and Corbin Burns are all Cy Young worthy candidates. I mean, they really are. Corbin Burns, outside of Jacob deGrom, and you could argue it actually is Corbin Burns, has been the most dominant pitcher in the major leagues. And he has a 2-3 record. That's ridiculous. Brandon Woodruff goes almost 8 innings in that game one against the Cardinals, allowing 1 run. Lucky home run, Tyler O'Neill, if you ask me, but allows the home run, gives up the 1 run. They were the Milwaukee Brewers were leading 1-0 going into that 8th inning, and they lose. And it's not just that winning and losing. Like, I get it. Like, they're going to lose games, they're going to win games, and that's just how it's going to go in baseball. But these are games that you're leaving runners, repeatedly throughout the course of a game, multiple innings. I mean, at no point, and maybe, everybody, has their opinion on the extra innings rule, and I get it. In my opinion, as in the major leagues, no team should not score in one of those innings. You got a guy starting on second base and no outs. There's no reason that guy should not score. Now, unless, you got maybe Kenley Jensen or Josh Hader lining up. I mean, that's one thing. But these are professional hitters. Put the ball in play. My God, Lorenzo Cain, Jackie Bradley Jr. Jackie Bradley Jr. is batting a 165. 165. Lorenzo Cain is batting a 185. These are guys that are anchors on your team, or at least should be. Does Yelich coming back into this offense fix it? Maybe. I don't know. Nobody in this lineup protects anybody. There's not one player, opposing pitcher lines up against this team and they look at this lineup and they're like, okay, we got to watch out for this player. We got to watch out for this player. We got to pitch around this guy. No. When Yelich comes back, nothing's going to change. We're just not going to pitch around him. And that's if he comes back. Because keep in mind, that back injury, we're going to find out really quick. We're going to find out really quick how serious that back injury is with Yelich. He's lining up with suiting up with the Nashville Sounds tonight. We're going to find out very fast just how serious that back injury is. So it's going to be interesting going forward. Now, again, at no point should you lose a series when you're, the three pitchers that you have going up one game, game 1, 2, and 3, allowing only 2 runs throughout a 3-game series. Pitching 19 2/3 inning. I mean, that's if I'm Corbin Burns, if I'm Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, I'm looking around that locker room like, guys, are we serious? Are we really serious? Corbin Burns took a loss yesterday. He gave up 1 run. It was in the first inning. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the solution. I really don't. Everybody wants to call for somebody's job, and is firing Andy Haynes going to get these Brewers hitting? No. I mean, unless you've played in the major leagues and maybe you have an inside scoop or something, and you think that firing a hitting coach, does the hitting coach have that much interaction with the guys? Obviously, yes, they do. He's working with them every day. He's watching them. They're working on mechanics. They're timing, everything. But 2 for 31 with runners in scoring position is not on the hitting coach. It's just not, guys. It's not. You have the most strikeouts in the major leagues. You're almost dead last in the major leagues in average. You're dead last in the National League. So the question is out there, who's to blame? And if we can't figure out who's to blame, obviously it's either the hitting coach or the hitters. I lean towards the players, but then what is your solution? What do you guys think is the solution for this Milwaukee Brewers offense? Drop us a comment live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Facebook at Brew City Pod. Search the Twitter, Brew City Lounge. Drop us a comment on what you guys think this offense needs to get going. I don't know. I'm in the boat of, and maybe I'm a little pessimistic with this. I just don't know. Like, I don't think having Christian Yelich come back to the team, that's an easily cop out. Everybody's going to be like, yes, we need Christian Yelich back. Well, okay, yes, we know that. But is Christian Yelich going to change this offense? Because again, outside of Yelich, when he's in this offense, no other pitcher fears anybody. You think a pitcher goes up on the mound and is scared of Daniel Vogelbach or is fearful of Jackie Bradley Jr., who just cannot hit for the life of him? And I was big on the Jackie Bradley Jr. signing. I loved when David Stearns signed Jackie Bradley Jr. to that contract. I loved it. 165? He's batting a 165. I mean, Lorenzo Cain, I know he's been hurt. He's been on the IL. 185? Lorenzo Cain, I said it before the season started. As Lorenzo Cain goes, so does this team. If he's sluggish, if he's going through a struggle, this team is going to struggle. It's honestly a miracle that they're 2 games up on over 500. Again, they have a 3-game set starting tonight against the Atlanta Braves. Going forward with this Milwaukee Brewers team, I want your guys' thoughts. What can we do? What do you think can be done to get this offense going? Now, it could just be a stretch of just bad hitting, bad approach. It feels like every time a player goes up to bat, you turn the game on, a guy walks up to the plate, and all of a sudden you blink and open your eyes, and it's an 0-2 count already. It just feels like maybe there's not enough plate discipline. Maybe there's not enough, working the count a little bit. It just feels like all of a sudden these guys are down in the count real fast, real quick. I mean, your starting pitching is probably the most dominant starting pitching that we've had in the history of this Milwaukee Brewers franchise. I mean, they are just absolutely dominant. It would never surprise me if one of those 3 pitchers won a Cy Young. And then the back end of your bullpen. I know Devin Williams gave up the tie and run in game one, and Hader, showed a little bit of struggle last night, allowing a couple guys on early. But for the most part, they've been as dominant as you can get. I mean, just flat out dominant. So going forward, we got to figure it out, because this offense this pitching is not going to be there every game. There's going to be games where Corbin Burns struggles. He's coming back off the IL, so you hope he stays healthy. There's going to be times where Brandon Woodruff struggles. There's going to be times where maybe he finds himself on the IL. The pitching has been what's keeping this Milwaukee Brewers team really relevant, honestly. This pitching wasn't as good as it's been. I mean, with this offense batting 2 for 31 with runners in scoring position and a 3-game set, 0 for 10 yesterday, you're probably losing most games. And you're probably looking at 10 games below 500. But what's it gonna take? What's gonna take for this offense to get going? Again, I'd lean towards the players. I'm a players guy. It's the same thing with any sport I cover, especially football. We can sit and look at coaches all day long. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes it is the head coach. Sometimes it is the offensive coordinator. Sometimes it is the hitting coach. But these guys are going to the plate and there's just no approach. There's nothing. The one game that this Brewers team won, game 2, they literally won because, well, not just because, but Daniel Vogelbach swung at a pitch above his head, and it wasn't Yadier Molina, arguably the best defensive catcher to ever play the game, couldn't even catch the ball. And Vogelbach got to first base, and then Travis Shaw hit the double the next at bat. I mean, Yadier Molina is able to catch that ball and secure it. They're out of that inning, and who knows? It's a good chance that the Brewers don't win that game. Each one of these games, what's frustrating about this Brewers team, and it feels like every game that they lose, obviously they got blown out against the Dodgers a couple weeks ago in that 4th game of that series, and there's probably a few other games that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but it feels like every game that they lose, it feels like it's by 1 run, and it feels like every 8th or 9th inning there's an opportunity to tie or win the game. And they just can't get it done. Again, like, losses are going to happen, especially in Major League Baseball. We all know that. Losses are going to happen. It's going to be a part of baseball. It's a very long season, 162 games. You're going to have, really bad losses. You're going to have a couple losses strung together. And the other side, you're going to have a lot of wins and put together a lot of streaks winning as well. So I know that's a part of the game. That whole 4-game set in Philly, they literally lost every game by like 1 or 2 runs, and they had a chance to win it or tie it. And this is no different than the St. Louis series this season, this week. Obviously, the St. Louis Cardinals won that game 1 pretty big, 6-1, but it took a Boxberger explosion to happen for St. Louis to get going offensively in that game. Outside of that, St. Louis hasn't scored anything much behind the Milwaukee Brewers. They won yesterday 2-0. And then obviously the Brewers won game 2 4-1. So the St. Louis Cardinals offense wasn't doing any better. It's not like you had to score 8, 9 runs to stay in the game. No. We're talking 1 or 2 wins. 1 or 2 runs. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan to watch this team. Obviously, they're my favorite team. I'm always going to be watching. I'm always going to root for them, no matter how mad they make me, no matter how many nights of mine they ruin. I'm still going to be there watching them. I'm still going to cheer them on. I just don't know what to do going forward. I don't know what there really is to do going forward. Who do you point the blame on? And if there's nobody that's going to point the blame, look, Craig Counsell's not going to fire Andy Haynes. He's just not going to do it. Not in the middle of the season. I do not see it happening. So at this point, it's up to Craig Counsell to light a fire, or for these players to just be like, okay, here we go. And maybe it's a bad stretch of the season for them. It's early. We're talking, it's only May 14th. We're a month and a half into the season. The Brewers do have 2 games above 500. I said it on Tuesday's show, going into this week, going up against the St. Louis Cardinals and the Atlanta Braves, you're going to see how you fare in the National League. I think that the Atlanta Braves are underperforming. I think they're going to get better. They're going to play better. Obviously, the Cardinals are at the top of the division and kind of taking it off right now at this point. But you're going to kind of get a good feeling on where you think you stand in the National League. As far as the division goes, we already know it's going to come down between the St. Louis Cardinals, Chicago Cubs, and the Milwaukee Brewers. And obviously, early on in the season, you've handled the Cubs pretty good, but they're only going to get better. Cubs are a good team. They have a lot of talent. Well, they're going to turn it around. St. Louis Cardinals, we already know. Goldschmidt haunts Milwaukee Brewers fans. Arenado is going to start warming up. Jack Flaherty is a stud. And the Cardinals are a tough, stingy team. And really, the only thing that's going on with this Milwaukee Brewers team is health. I mean, obviously, yes, they can't hit the ball. But we also haven't seen this lineup together yet. None of them have played together for more than a few games. How much different is that lineup? How much different is that offense when you have Colton Wong, Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, Keston Hiura as your 1 through 4 hitters? It's probably a little bit different. You would think that Hiura and Yelich kind of help each other out. Pitchers are obviously fearful of them when they're playing, when they're healthy, when they're hitting the ball. Again, to reset the question, what is it? In your opinion, what do you think needs to happen with this Milwaukee Brewers offense? For me, although I don't think one player and Christian Yelich changes it, I think if you can get Yelich and Hiura back in the lineup, get them hitting the ball the way that we're accustomed to them hitting, the way that Hiura made it in the major leagues, how Yelich won an MVP. You get those guys back to form, I think you probably change this offense tremendously. Because then you're putting Omar Narvaez and Luis Urias at the bottom of your lineup. And that's pretty good 1 through 8, in my opinion. Again, Brewers dropped the series against the Cardinals 2-1. Pitching was absolutely dominant. Corbin Burns made history yesterday. Most strikeouts before issuing a walk. 58 before he issued his first walk. Josh Hader set history. I mean, the pitching has just been absolutely phenomenal. It's been so clutch, so good in so many moments. It's going to be interesting going forward to see how this team responds, because at some point you would imagine that this offense has got to fix itself. And if that means, bunting the ball with a guy on second to get him over to third, surrendering that out, then okay. Going up to the plate with guy on second and just swinging at every pitch and striking out, and enough's enough. Something's got to change. Do something different. And I'm not calling Craig out. Obviously, he does a phenomenal job in what he does. He's better at his job than I am at mine. With that being said, Craig, let's just try something different. At least try. Because what is happening now is nothing. And I know this team hasn't, played to their potential that we thought they would be. Obviously, they have guys injured. So there's a lot of excuses. If you want, you could throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. There's a lot. But injuries aside, Yelich out of the game, you'll still never convince me that batting 2 for 31 with runners in scoring position is okay. You got a guy on second, a guy on third. Get it in the out. Put it in play. We've seen what happened when Yadier Molina missed that wild pitch against Daniel Vogelbach. Now, although Daniel Vogelbach didn't put the ball in play, the ball was in play and things happened, and it changed the course of that game, and you ended up winning that game because that ball was somehow put in play. How it was put in play doesn't matter. A win is a win. But put it in play, and you heard Bill Schroeder on the Bally Sports TV broadcast say the same thing. And I know everybody that's tuning into this show knows that, put the ball in play. Things happen. Mistakes are going to happen. You hit it in the outfield. Who knows? Harrison Bader game 2 had a routine fly ball. He slipped and fell. Caught the ball, but Kane scored from second. Why? Because the ball was put in play, and things can happen. It changes the course of a game when you put it in play. If you sit there at the plate and just swing and miss at everything, well, you're not stressing out the defense. You're not stressing out the pitcher. You're not forcing the opposing manager's hand to do something different. You're just giving up whatever you can to the opposing team and moving on. And then to see guys like Freddie and Woody and Burns get the losses because this offense can't string together a couple hits in any inning when it matters, let alone a hit. Put it in a ground ball, a fly ball to the outfield. It seems like every fly ball in the outfield, these 3 games against the Cardinals, landed on the warning track. It was just frustrating. It was very reminiscent of that series with the Phillies because you had multiple opportunities to win multiple games, and you win one. And again, you're going to win series and you're going to lose them. And you'd always want to beat your division, especially if it's the Cubs and the Cardinals, because we all know that it's probably going to end with one of those 3 teams winning that division and moving on in the playoffs. So going forward, I hope that this team can figure it out. I will be going to the game on Saturday. Kind of a cool, fun, and exciting announcement. I just checked the weather, so I'm not really excited about it as much as I was anymore, but I'm still excited. I will be doing a live pregame show tomorrow, Saturday, May 15th, out at AmFam Field, out in the parking lot. Check it out, guys. If you're out there, swing by. I'll have a table set up. If you want to be on the show, you want to come on and talk Brewers, hey, come on and talk Brewers, grab a drink, sit down with me. We're going to talk a little bit about the Brewers, kind of like what we're doing now. We're going to preview the Braves, see what and who's going to be playing. I know Ronald Acuna missed the game last night or went out of the game early last night. So it'll be interesting to see, and I might be behind the 8 ball here. I don't know if they put him on the IL yet or not. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond with a tough series offensively against the Cardinals heading into the Braves. So again, if you are at the game tomorrow, shoot me a message on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. I will follow you guys back. Very interactive on there. I love talking to you guys. You guys can get all my thoughts on the Bucks, Brewers, and of course the Packers. So that's what's going on tomorrow. That'll do it for today's show. Again, thank you to Zach Gelb. Thank you to the sponsors, Fanatics, One Call Technology. Without you guys, this isn't possible. Most importantly, thank you to the fans and the listeners. Without you guys, none of this is possible, and all of it is so much greatly appreciated. Super excited to get to the AmFam Field tomorrow. Again, if you guys are out there, stop by, say hi, stop for a drink, stop for some food. We'll be out there from 4 to 5 p.m. doing a live broadcast. That will do it for today's show. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, all that good stuff. Subscribe and download. Leave a review if you guys want. All that is so much appreciated. Thank you guys again. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Let's go Bucks. Let's go Brewers. Have a great weekend, Milwaukee. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.